I just want to have like an open conversation with you about this because I know so many people, their biggest hang up when they talk about healing, optimal health is how to eat. And I think a lot of it doesn't come down just to what to eat, but it's the cooking portion of it. It's the portion that really kind of hits you a little bit where, wow, this seems difficult to me. And therefore I won't do it, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And I'd love to get into some of that. And first off, let me, go ahead and kind of give you an introduction here because Aran Goldstein, you're a chef, teacher, entrepreneur, dedicated towards building your skill and intuition around food. You've come from where, in my backyard, where I went to school, Northeastern. I went to Boston University.
Yeah, I noticed.
You went to Culinary Institute up there in New England. But you had stints at Michelin star, restaurants in Italy. You opened a restaurant in China. You've taught so many different people along the way in organic farming and even medical students learning how to use food as medicine, which is what I kind of want to get into here. But let me start with this. How'd you get into cooking? Did you always have a love for it?
Always, it's just I'm one of those people that kind of has a story from childhood that knew they were into something. It just took me a while to circle around and end up going to culinary school and diving into real kitchens. It took me till after college, but it's always been there. I was always with my parents, in the kitchen. And it's kind of a cliche story, but I was the kid that was interested in cracking the eggs, on the weekends with my parents and scrambling eggs and making pancakes. Which is interesting because I come from a family of 7. I've got 4 siblings. And for whatever reason, I'm the only one that was really interested in being in the kitchen. So I get that people are coming from, different likes and different interests. And for some people, it comes naturally. And for others, I get what you're saying. It feels impossible, right? And it feels so foreign. And that's why I do what I do, because I want to make it easier for people.
So let's talk about that, because I know a ton of patients that want to make it easy for themselves to cook, be healthier, and realize that a lot of their problems are due to the way they ate. And so how do you start with people? What do you recommend they do to at least start to cook a little bit more and start to build that relationship with your kitchen?
I think it starts before even diving into the cooking process. I think it's first asking the question. It's like, what do you want from this part of your life, right? And this is what I do in this cooking course that I just launched. Before we even dive into the basics and how to hold a knife, right? It's asking ourselves, what kind of life do I want, right? And where does food fit in to that life, right? We stress so often, go to school, right? Get good grades so you can buy a house, so you can have a nice car, so you can get a good education, right? But how often are we going through the exercise of setting up our lives so that we can eat whatever food we want, right? The most nourishing food on the planet, right? And so I think that's a powerful question to ask ourselves, right? Like, do we want to really be healthy? Do we want our kids to really be healthy? What is it going to take to make that happen, right? And then once that's clear, it's okay. So maybe it's hard at first to get cooking, but you've established your own personal mission, or maybe that's done as a family, right? Because I think so many people are just kind of letting life happen when it comes to the kitchen part of home, right? And the daily and the weekly rituals, okay? So I think that's step 1. And then step 2 is going and seeking, an education of sorts. And it's ubiquitous out there. You can go on YouTube and go on lessons and get all the information, right? Or you can engage with someone like me that's really walking you through that process. And what I'm trying to help people with is to start to kind of think like a cook, right? And so the first part of the course is, before we even dive in, it's kind of resetting, building a framework, and starting to think like a cook, right? Imagine walking into a restaurant and the cooks and the kitchen hadn't prepped anything, right? Hadn't thought ahead, hadn't planned out the week or the month for that matter, right? And there are little things that can make all the difference with how we even take home our groceries, right? Instead of just taking the bag of parsley with its rubber band around the stems and just throwing it in there and then forgetting about it after a few days, right? Right. So that's what we work on. That's what I work on at the very beginning, is kind of the the shifts, the little shifts that you can make to set yourself up for success during the week?